Customer wants to call us every hour until her issue is fixed. Sure. So I work at a pretty big tech company as a help desk agent and as any help desk employee. I've had my fair share of crazy customers. Like this one who we shall call Karen. We would mainly answer the phone and emails and then log in tickets to our system for handling all the issues customers would require us to solve. Each logged ticket will cause the customer to be billed the standard help desk fee, and then it would add up depending on how long it takes, parts needed, etc. Onto the story. So one morning Karen calls in and asks about a ticket she had logged like 2 hours ago. I go and check the status and see it was a pretty standard account request for one of her employees. And it was already being handled by the team that creates these particular accounts. This account was for an outside system for which we only provide the accounts, and they have their own support for problems due to synchronization. After we create the account, it takes roughly 24 hours for it to be functional, and this is quite well known for the managers who usually request them to be created. I inform Karen that the account is being created right now and she should be getting a confirmation about it soon. I also remind her that it can take about 24 hours for it to be functional. As soon as I said these things, the tone on her changed immediately and she informed me quite annoyingly that this was very urgent and it should be functional faster. We talk for a little while longer and I explain to her why exactly it takes this long, and finally she seems to understand and we end the call. About an hour later, one of my colleagues sends me a message asking if I've talked to this lady before and tells me she's calling again, angry and demanding that the account should be made faster. Once again they explain the same things I did and they end the call. About another hour later I answer a call and it's Karen again, even angrier and practically yelling that the account needs to be created now. I check the ticket again and see it has been completed, so the account should be working tomorrow. I tell this to Karen and she is not happy. She starts to yell all sorts of things and says that this is not how we should do things. And again I inform her that the system she needs the account for is not ours and this is something we can't do anything about. But she won't have it. She then calmly informs me that if this is how we do things, then she will be calling us every hour to waste our time until the account is done. I can almost hear the smirk on her face as she says this. Now, even though she was being extremely rude, I didn't want to be a dick and tried to inform her that every time she calls we are required to log in a ticket and her company will be charged the standard help desk fee. But as I try to tell this, she just cuts me off and refuses to listen, so at this point I say, all right, call us if you want. So then she proceeds to call us every hour for the rest of her workday, and next morning I get a few of her calls and just always repeat the same thing: account will be working within 24 hours. And each time she calls me or one of my colleagues, we log in a ticket and move on. Eventually the calls stopped, presumably because the account was finally functional and we didn't hear from her again. I haven't heard if she got into any trouble for it, but she must have generated quite a bill for her company over nothing. I'd wager she was supposed to have created the account days before, but she forgot till the last minute. So she basically spent the day transferring money from her department to yours. How very productive. Had a similar thing happen once. They emailed for an update every few hours. Problem is, it put the ticket at the end of the queue so no one saw it. Out of curiosity, and if you're able to say, how much did she take up in HD fees? I previously worked for a facilities management provider in data management. We had one lady in a corporate office log 317x tickets in 1 year for 8C is too hot, too cold. In 1 year. I've actually heard this advice from multiple different older people. It's the idea that the squeaky wheel gets the grease combined with how customer service departments used to always be much smaller and in the same building as the rest of the business. They believe that if they call a lot they'll annoy you to putting them at the head of the queue. They just don't understand modern customer service setup. Now you could be reaching any of thousands of people who doesn't know anyone in any other part of the business and probably works for a third party. Ferengi rule of acquisition number 39. Don't tell customers more than they need to know. She informed me quite annoyingly that this was very urgent, and likely knew about the need 6 months ago. I haven't heard if she got into any trouble for it, but she must have generated quite a bill for her company over nothing. Lol, no one in her company will know or care. It's just cost of doing business. Unless someone pulls a very specific report, notices one specific person had an extra 10 to 15 tickets that week, and also decides it's worth pursuing. She almost certainly never heard any fallout. She was the one calling every hour during the workday, but you all were getting paid to be there, regardless of whether or not you were talking to her. If anyone was being inconvenienced, it was her. But Karen's got to Karen. This rather uncomfortably reminds me of one non-tech job I had where there was some ticket I had in to get access to some system or other, which should honestly have been done weeks, if not months before, by the management. My boss at the time told me that if I couldn't log into the particular application, I was to keep calling the help desk over and over and over about it. And she would be looking over my shoulder and micromanaging to make sure I did just that. I did, at least, make sure that I emphasized on each call that it was this very particular one manager who was making me call back repeatedly, and that I personally was well aware that the access would come through when it came through and calling would not speed it up in any way. Possibly. At some point several hours later, the help desk manager called my manager and tore many strips off her, because eventually I was told that I didn't have to keep calling back over and over. I had a similar experience with a customer. I was working as help desk for an internet provider. It turned out he had Alzheimer in a pretty bad state, so he was actually genuine, calling every 30 minutes. He had a broken piece of equipment, so he had to wait a technician within 24 hours. Still feeling ashamed, cold sweat smile. Orders where customer can write custom requests in description field. Every update of this field, the order will be pulled from the queue to verify before being re-added to the back of the queue. Guess where Karen kept changing her message to indicate how urgent the order was. Isn't this just compliance? Also, where's the fallout? Follow up rock, follow up rock, follow up rock. I recently got a job as tech support at an ISP as well. And the customers who get the most upset are the ones that we can't do anything to help. Like, the router is working and broadcasting a signal. Your computer is 12 years old though and is the one having issues. People will never understand company procedures and expect it to be quickly as possible SMH. Even after you repeat yourself more than 3x, and I'm pretty sure you'd have explained it in so many ways for Karen to understand. I had similar experience with one of the IT managers we worked with. It turned out that she was pregnant, and after she returned from maternity leave we couldn't recognize her. She was so chill and well behaved. Grin grin. I really wish you'd offered to call her every hour with an update. And continued outside working hours. I had a lady at an old JPB like this. But she was just stupid. A ticket was required for each call and for each issue. She would call at least 3 times a day with an average of 3 to 4 issues. Each ticket was $16. By YHR end of the year she made the company about $12,000. I had no idea why she wasn't let go.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.